Hey, how are you this morning? It is the video for Sunday, December the 20th. The reason that we have a video during Christmas week is I am still under the effects of COVID, and I appreciate you bearing with me today. My voice is not as strong as I would like, and if I have to start coughing, that's not going to be good. And I'm still dealing with the fever. It comes and goes, and so I appreciate the prayers, and we'll talk way more about that later. But I want to share some things with you and share some prayer requests, and then we'll go into a video, and it's a Lottie Moon video. And along those lines, I want to say this. Look, I know that because of the circumstances the way they are, and because we haven't had church service, and because we haven't had our normal Christmas lead up to the Lottie Moon our offering, I know that there's this concern. Well, what are we going to do about Lottie Moon? Well, first of all, you can give to Lottie Moon well after Christmas. You can give well into 2021. It still counts for 2020, and there's not an issue there. And you can go online to IMB, and you can give Lottie Moon donations right online. I know that's not ideal, and some people don't like that way, but you can do that. And so instead of making this a matter of complaint and say, well, what are we going to do about this? Well, there are avenues that you can use. And so I wanted you to be aware of that. And then when we are able to one day meet again, then you can give them then. But let me say this too, and I want to say this about everything. You can give all of your offerings and your tithes and your Lottie Moon offerings. You can give all that and mail it into Post Office Box 705 in care of the church, and Samantha will get that and will make sure it goes to the right place. I know some people are not real comfortable with that, and that's your preference. I understand, but it can be done that way, and I want you to know that. I don't want you to think that, well, we didn't get to give anything because we didn't have church. Well, that's not the way it works, and so I want you to understand that is available. You can give online to Lottie Moon, and you can definitely send in your tithes and offerings to the church. So just wanted to throw that out there and let you know that, and I will go from there. Prayer request: Bruce Hoover called me today and said that Peter McKay, he had told me this week that Peter was having knee surgery, and he was home. Peter went home on Thursday and thought he was doing all right. And Bruce called me this morning, said that they called him on the way to Elk City and thought that Peter McKay had had a stroke, and that he could hear it in his voice and his speech, and asked that we'd pray for them. He asked that we'd pray for Peter's family, his brother David, his family, his in-laws. They've had all kinds of loss because of COVID, and they're still dealing with it. And Bruce was saying that he was with Peter when he came home from the hospital. And so I just ask you to pray for that whole family. They obviously need our prayers, and they need them in a mighty way. And so I ask that you'd pray for the McKay family. Thankful for Donna. Donna sent me during our vacation a report from the doctor about how that there was no recurrence of the disease, and that our treatments were doing well. And she was so thankful about how good God has been to her, and just so thankful for the good news that Donna's gotten. I ask you to continue to pray for Donna and her health and strengthen her. Pray for Elva and Hap the same way. I know that they need and will appreciate that, and ask you to remember them both in prayer. Pray for my father-in-law and his heart health and the things that he needs there. I mentioned to you last week to pray for Eddie Joe Williams. The surgery went about as good as it could possibly go, and the surgeon believes he got all of that tumor, but they're going to send it off for testing, and just ask that you would remember them in prayer. Remember Miss June and the family, and a long road that Eddie's got to deal with this, and then to ever even consider to talk about the road to recovery and getting back to normal. And so ask that you remember them in prayer. Margaret asked me if we would mention James Barnes. That would be George's brother. He has a health request and a health need, and asked that you'd meet, or asked that we'd pray that God would meet the needs of James Barnes. I mentioned to you that when I told you that I had COVID, Brent and Jake Smith, they both tested positive also. And so they're both on the mend and doing pretty well, but I ask that you would remember them in prayer. Pray for Rick Hobson and his family and their whole extended family. The loss of Nina. I know I sent a text out and told a lot of you that Nina Baker had passed. I asked that you'd remember their family in prayer. You know, there was just one Aunt Nina, and I don't think there'll ever be another like her. And what a blessing it was to be able to know her and know her later in life also, and know the joy that she had from knowing the Lord, and just the awesomeness that was. And I saw the video from the funeral home, and it was just perfect. And so just ask that you'd remember them in prayer. Jeff Elkins and Stephanie told me that his dad, I asked you to pray for his dad. He'd been moved from the nursing home to the hospital with COVID and pneumonia. He's actually was doing better as of yesterday. And they sent me some stuff and wanted me to know that. So just ask you to continue to pray for him and the need that's there. And then Eddie Hayworth, I mentioned that to you yesterday. Eddie's sister, asked that you'd meet the needs of that family. Asked that God would be very close to them. Hospice called in the family and told him it was just a matter of time. But she did tell Eddie she was ready to go. And so just ask that you'd pray with them along those lines. So that's a whole lot. And I know there are so many more. And I hope that today, after this message, that you get a newfound understanding, respect for prayer and the way we approach prayer. And I hope that that's the case. And I hope that when you hear a prayer request, that your heart is, I need to pray for them, period. I'll explain that in the message, but I really hope that's the case. And I hope that from now on, we would understand that we just hear it and we say, yes, Lord, I'll pray. So I ask that you just remember that. I hope you enjoy this video. It's really good. It's from the streets of Nairobi, Kenya. And I know that it will be a blessing to you. And then after that, we will pick right up with the message.
Nani amewahi shikwa na polisi? Nani amewahi kuliwa na chawa? Nani amewahi lala njaa kwa street? Nani amewahi dhulumiwa kimapenzi ama anajua mtu amewahi dhulumiwa kwa street? Kudhulumiwa kimapenzi.
Whenever I was hanging out with the boys, people would come to me and be like, you know, these boys are dangerous. You know, these boys are going to hurt you. You know, you shouldn't be here. And they're just despised by everyone.
Only a few understand that these are just normal children who have been forced to the streets with different circumstances.
They're not loved. They're actively insulted and abused and kicked.
Show them love, and they will respond with love. Show them a bad attitude, and they will repel from you. They are just children.
In 2009-2010, I was serving as a photographer with the International Mission Board, and one of my last assignments was a story on a young lady working with street kids in Nairobi, Kenya. I would spend from 4 in the morning to 10 at night with this group of 20 kids, getting to know them, hearing why they were on the streets, and the whole time I was like, oh my gosh, the Lord is going to call somebody to work with these kids. Like, somebody needs to come do something. So I finally just said, Lord, are you calling me to go work with those boys? And I had peace. Like, I knew that that's what I was being called to do. Hopefully 13 boys will come to the shelter this morning, and they'll be rescued off the streets. Uko tayari? Honestly, there were so many years that I worked on the streets in Nairobi without a place to take boys. I would just get to know them and help them like in the small ways that I could. And the fact that God has provided the shelter and given us opportunity to be rescuing kids off the streets and make a real difference in their life, it's really exciting. Like, life will not be the same for these boys. And Naivasha Children's Shelter, our mission is to rescue them from the streets, to help them to be rehabilitated, to get off drugs, to go through trauma counseling. And as much as we see that these kids need food and they need education and they need a bed to sleep in, they do. They need all of those things. But what they really need is the love of the family. They need to belong somewhere. They need to be well cared for. They need to know that they're loved. And we show them that through the love that the social workers give them here. We show them that by pointing to the love of Christ, and we show them that by putting them back in their family, where they belong, with people who love them. One of our social workers, Elphys, has spent hours looking for one kid that's lost, that he wants to be able to have a new life. And it's not just Elphys. All of the social workers at the shelter are amazing. They go to the streets every day and every night. They get to know the boys. They get to hear their story, know why they came to the streets, know what happened in their family, and offer them a way out.
I talk to them and make them understand that despite everything that you're going through, there is hope and there is someone who cares. That's why I'm here.
I had seen enough of orphanages, I had worked with enough organizations that I knew the best place for any child is in their family. And we don't just take them home and drop them off. What we do is we spend a lot of time going to the family and finding out what sent that child to the streets. Was it the influence of peers? Was it poverty at home? And then spend a lot of time working on that issue with the family. Every child that's placed back at home, they follow them until they reach the age of 18 or they finish school, just to make sure that child has no chance of going back to the streets. Everything is fine. They have enough food. They're in school. They invest their lives in these children.
I'm sure that these kids, if given a chance and a place to make their lives, for sure they are going to change and make a better generation to come.
I just want to sincerely say thank you. It is because of Southern Baptist that I am able to be here. The shelter is able to keep running. I'm able to serve in this way because of your gifts to the Lottie Moon Christmas offering and the cooperative program. And it's miraculous to see a child that was alone, living on the streets and hopeless, reunited with their family. This is the model that works. This is what helps to get kids back home where they should be and where they want to be.